So we spent another several days not knowing where Luke was, and my attorney was trying to get in touch with the ad litem and find out where Luke was. And it was about 9 days later I was finally allowed to know where Luke was. I was allowed to go see him. My visitations were set on Friday from 4 to 8 p.m. We could drive to Houston, and my husband and I could see him from 4 to 8 and then leave. Luke was placed in a lockdown psychiatric ward at this hospital, and so when we went to see him, we got off at the floor, and then you couldn't get back on the elevator to leave unless someone punched in the code and let you leave. We were not allowed in Luke's room. We were made to stand in the hallway to visit with him. I would be singing to him in the hallway, and the people across the hall would be so kind, and they would say, "My dad is so calmed down with your singing, he loves it, and here, have our chair, and have some pillows to prop Luke's arms up," and so they gave us chairs and pillows, to help Luke be more comfortable and for us to sit on. It was time for, and then a nurse had asked me if, after it was in several weeks, Luke was there. She said, "Luke needs his diaper changed." He was soaking wet, and she said, "We need to change him now." And she said, the CNAs are gone to lunch, and it will be another 45 minutes before one comes back to help me, and I really need to get him changed now, and do you want to help me? And I said, I can't. They accused me of being improper with my son because I had helped change his diaper at Baylor Specialty Hospital. And she said, I will take care of it. I just need someone to help me. So I went in with her, and of course I rolled up his sheets. I never touched Luke. She changed his diaper, and when she took his diaper off, he was so scalded. His whole entire, from his legs to his waist, was just pure red scalded. And she said that, she didn't say anything about it, and I was just sick. And of course, she wouldn't allow it. She wasn't allowed to really tell me what's going on. But we changed Luke's diaper, and the following week, it did get around the hospital that I had helped her change his diaper, and of course, BJ then wrote a letter to Bob Bandy and told him that I was improper with my son, that I wanted to change his diaper because I wanted to take pictures of his penis, and that I wanted pictures of, I wanted to see his privates. And of course, she sent this horrible letter to Robert Bandy, who then in turn gave it to the judge. I was accused of laying up in bed with my son, and of course you'll see pictures that shows you that yes, I did lay down beside my son when he was up at Baylor Specialty Hospital, and that was something us mothers did, and there was 2 other mothers there with traumatic brain injured boys that I had met, and in fact we're still friends to this day, and their 2 brain injured boys are home with them, and I know Luke can be too if he has the proper rehab. But even in the hospital records at Health South, the hospital records, which you'll see the documents that you can look at, where he was able to sit up 3 times from an incline. He could roll over twice. He could follow 2 out of 3 commands. He could answer yes and no. He could tell them when to stop stretching. He could tell them if he was in pain. Luke could vocalize, and he was just improving and improving. In fact, he was able to stand on his own with parallel bars for 15 seconds, and the therapist told me that, and they were just so excited about it. And Luke could follow commands, and yet, as he went to TIER, finally, I talked to them at TIER, and I said, Luke needs a shunt and a drain in his brain. They've never done it. He's never seen a neurologist. I want him to see a neurologist. Finally, they got a neurologist in there. They did check, and they said a shunt is definitely warranted. Well, I told him, I said, Luke has pneumonia again. I know. I see green coming out it's still in his trach. He's got it coming out of his nose. I know he has pneumonia. I know the signs. Well, they said, no, he's fine. Well, when we got the records, when we subpoenaed the records from TIER, it showed that he did have pneumonia, and they had to put him on an IV intravenously, give him antibiotics for 7 days before he could even go and have the shunt and the drain put in. After he had the shunt and the drain put in, I was not allowed to know what date it was, when it happened, when it occurred. Luke was always hidden, and when I tried to find him, and I just happened to call the care coordinator, and she said, as soon as we find out something from Herman, we'll let you know. Well, when she said Herman, I said, I had a surgery there at Herman Hospital down in Houston. So that kind of gave it away, and I called Herman Hospital to see if Luke was there. they said, we have no patient by the name of Luke Humphrey. And I said, I know he's got to be. He went today for a shunt and a drain. And so then I talked to ICU, and he wasn't there. And finally, on the third call, I reached a nurse, and I said, is my son recovering? How's my son doing? Da-da-da. And she said, are you talking about Mr. Humphrey? And I said, Luke Humphrey. She said, you mean Mr. Humphrey? And I said, okay. And she said, a 19-year-old traumatic brain injured boy. And I said, yes. And she said, well, that would be Mr. Humphrey. And she said, you understand? And I said, oh, okay. Thank you. And I hung up, and when I called back, I said, may I have Mr. Humphrey's room? And so it was a code so that when I asked for Mr. Humphrey's room, I was directly put in contact with Luke's room. Lady answered the phone. I asked how Luke's surgery went. Fine. And his mother was yelling, Landy, get off that phone. Get off that phone. And I said, Landy, do they have a monitor on him for his ICPs to see what his ICPs are? He said, no, he's just fine. Well, I couldn't believe they could put a shunt and a drain in and not even monitor his ICPs. 2 days later, they transferred him to Glen Rose Nursing Home, where Beverly had been a secretary for 17 years. And of course, when he was transferred there, again, I didn't know. Of course, our visitation again was canceled at Tier, and again, I had to wait to find out where they'd taken Luke.